topics today, I was asked to talk, as Jeremy has just said, about cities. I find that rather difficult because I don't think anybody knows the answer of what's going to happen to cities in the future. I can only say, if you look at Stratford, it's a tale of two cities. One city, which you saw, north of the railway tracks, coordinated public space, private space, series of civic buildings, and south of the tracks, chaos, uncoordinated, complete mess, 40-story buildings living next to 4-story buildings, a road right the way through the heart of Stratford. And to me, this represents much of a challenge of the world we live in, where we have the old and the new sitting possibly uncomfortably together. So I have to say I don't know the answer to what cities are going to do. But I do know that there are all the things that we in ULI talk about: public space, growth, zoning, social activities, construction, the architecture, the environment, and of course the profitability, something which us developers are all thinking about. And I'm sure the professionals here are thinking about, everyone's thinking about how do we make money. Well, going back to the old rules of making money, I think that creative companies won't be in interesting spaces. So everyone probably would like to be in some kind of private space. But I'm going to ask now a series of questions. I hope to intermingle with my short conversation to try and pose you a series of questions. So private spaces have begun to reflect as campuses. Should we all live in campuses? Should we take the private realm of Rockefeller Center and begin to build on that? Is that the kind of society that we want? Or is it injecting mojo into placemaking? Real life, real place, and mojo's magical charm. I'm sure you're all into mojo because I'm not really, but it's one of the points of the moment. And we know that our most popular streets are often quirky, often different, have real character. They're rather like a sort of warm leather jacket, rather comfortable, perhaps slightly out of shape. But we know that they've got character, they've got style, and the successful ones are busy even today. But to create those new cities, those new places, we've got to have some vision. But is vision something that we actually want at the moment? Is it too bold? Is there room for another Canary Wharf in London? Another Shinjuku in Tokyo? Another La Défense in Paris? I don't think so. I don't think we're at a moment in time when the visions of the last 20 years can be translated into the period of design, development that we see. So that makes it all rather difficult. That vision, in my book, is the preeminent driver for value, for social change. Now, here in London, the West End is extremely restricted on what we can do. It has a very historic background. There are restrictions on what can be done with plots, with buildings. But fascinatingly to me, when the Grosvenor family laid out the Grosvenor Estate in 1770, Jeremy, something like that?
A little bit
earlier. 1730?
Yeah.
1730. They knew what to do. They knew that squares, spaces, churches, mixed use were relevant. They had that skill base, and I don't think anything's changed. And interestingly, if you ask people where are the highest rents, I suppose the perfect space is Canary Wharf, terrific buildings technically, but actually the highest rents in London are in some of the most difficult buildings the listed buildings of 1730 onwards. So those buildings have character, have a huge variety of activities. So what I'm trying to get at is that we need new improvements. How are we going to create Bond Street with a little crook at the bottom as we turn into old Bond Street to new Bond Street, Berkeley Square with chaotic entrances and exits and all in the wrong places. Perhaps in the real estate world we need to be sort of the new celebratory chefs of the industry, creating new menus, because certainly chefs are in here, and they manage to create spaces, environments which we're all attracted to. And in real estate, I think we need to look at property as more than just an iconic tower. It's surely about place, about that wonderful feeling when we go into a medieval square and we think, fantastic. So for me, for instance, there's nowhere better to shop than Milan in that triangle. Chaotic, beautiful, noisy, hot, but it's fantastic, a unique place. So how can we begin to get to the new Milans of the world? Where's the growth? As we all know at the moment, the growth is in the eastern part of the continent. The Far East, fantastic. China, Hong Kong, booming away. How can we bring it to the West? The US, and I guess the UK, are certainly suffering. I hardly any friends building anything. What is it? And when it comes to real estate, certainly here in the UK, it's full of red tape. It's very difficult to build anything which is truly economic. And we've got to go back to a different world. A world where in the last decade, I suppose, land and construction costs have risen to meet the debt available.